wrong one. What is up? What is up?
What's crack-a-lackin', my friend?
I'm telling you, it's an odd day here at Triple B when we get the pink-haired wonder in the house.
Yeah.
Look at you, looking lovely as always.
Actually, I've got to go have this touched up. It's faded out a little bit. I probably spent too much time in the sun and the rain at mini truck nats.
Yes, I cannot wait to hear about that. I know that's
a
a departure from our norm on Triple B, but I still want to talk about it.
Speak of that before we get anywhere into that. Did you get the email?
Yes, I did. I saw that pass or flash up. So yes, okay. I know it's here. I just haven't looked at it yet, but yes.
Just so everybody knows, Chad will have an entire gallery on Bang Shift of photos from mini truck nats because Chad and I are both mini truck fanatics. So
yes, as God intended. So is Ryan. So it's good.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome today. I have to say thank you to Damon for jumping in today. I actually had another guest that was going to be on, and I screwed up and scheduled him for tonight, and tonight was the night he couldn't do. So yeah, so we're good to go. But I want to thank Neil for being in the house. Neil, yes, you and I need to talk tonight. I know I missed you last night. Sorry. Bill in the house, Lycan, of course. Everybody, thank you. Barnalicious, as always. Make sure Ryan, Damon, share this thing on your
already did
Facebooks as well. And I want to thank Lamb Components for being our presenting sponsor tonight here on Triple B. Yeah, Nick in the house as well. Our favorite bullet racing engines builder.
Let's face it, I'm probably better than whatever guest you had planned on coming on anyway. So
you are certainly more modest. There's no doubt. Yes.
Modesty, not a strong suit.
No. You fail miserably at that. You're not. Hold on. How do I say this? You're
arrogant?
pretty good at most things. You are not good at modesty, though.
No. Not
modesty, you are a miserable failure at modesty.
Yeah, John 4, and anybody who's been around drag racing long enough knows who John 4 is. Arguably considered one of the best photographers in all of door car racing. Him and I have conversations about he is about as quiet a gentleman as you will ever meet. Very, very modest. And I am the exact opposite of the time because I am of the Muhammad Ali school. This whole, if you're the greatest, you don't have to tell everybody. Well, guess what? Muhammad Ali was the greatest and he told everybody.
Yeah, so that's true.
I don't care.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Speaking of boxing, just super quick while everybody's joining in, give us your opinion. Mike Tyson gonna whoop the other dude's ass or get his ass whooped?
Really? Ryan, do you want to field that one?
It's going to be Mike Tyson all the way.
I believe so too. That's where I'm at. Yes.
The other kid's going to lose an ear. It's probably going to be a thrown event. Let's face it. It's probably a money grab. However, I will say this: as a guy who spent a lot of time following Tyson, he doesn't typically do things for money. He does things to hurt people. So
yes,
I think he's coming after the arrogant young kid on the YouTubes. That's what I think.
I believe so too. And I have to tell you, have you seen any of the little videos that they've put out of Tyson? Dude, he's a bad man still.
I wouldn't fight that guy if I had a gun and he had both arms tied behind his back.
No,
exactly.
No, he's a mean son of a bitch. There ain't no way. And he's fast. And he's not fast for an old guy. He's just fast.
Well, and if you guys haven't heard, so at first when this all came about, I'm like, okay, this is just a big Netflix money grab. And then I looked more into it and I'm like, Tyson is not a money grab type of guy. He doesn't need the money, especially he's going to be 58 when they have this fight. And he was okay until Jake Paul, who he's fighting, started making jabs about Mike Tyson's late deceased daughter.
Oh, yeah, you don't do that.
And
wow.
And because 15 years ago, maybe Mike Tyson's daughter passed away if I remember correctly, it was a treadmill accident of all things, like got caught up in the cable of the treadmill or something. And Jake Paul made reference to it at some point. And Tyson, apparently, as any man of a child that you've lost, is not going to take kindly to that. If it was a money grab, now it's you better have all the ambulances in the area lined up.
Yeah.
So Anthony Mory says they are friends and they joke around before and on their podcast. I have to say, I have heard that from a couple of people, but I've also heard other people say they're friendly, but they're not friends. Correct. And so I don't know. Let's see. But Anthony's saying to watch Jake Paul's podcast to explain it all. I don't know who Jake Paul is. Don't give a shit. Quite frankly, it just doesn't matter to me. But
I hope Tyson knocks the ever-loving shit out of him.
Yeah, and I'm not a boxing guy. Like, I don't care. It's not drag racing, so I don't really give a shit. But but with that said, I hope that for the people that care, I hope that it goes at least a few rounds so it's fun to watch. Because, if he rolls out there and Tyson steps up to him and goes, poof, and knocks him out, it'd be awesome for a meme, but it wouldn't be a great event. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Spike the ball, walk out. That's what I'm saying. I want to see Jake Paul's soul leave his body and shake his head, looking down at him, going, "Man, you
done screwed up."
I mean, all three of us.
Wrong with it? You ain't got no gas.
I don't know how old Ryan is, but I know Chad and I are old enough to remember Tyson in the 80s and what he would do to people.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody listening ever gets a chance, look up the street gangbanging drug lord that Tyson took on in the ring, and then what happened to that guy when he confronted Tyson in the street and said he wanted a rematch. Tyson gave him a rematch in the street.
Yeah.
Crap!
And then the guy tried to turn around and sue him.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, story has been told that there is a possibility that partially of that story was depicted in the Rocky V, I think it was.
Oh,
where he fights Tommy the Gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the street. Yeah, with a little street vengeance. Listen, here's the deal. Anybody who wants to go get in the ring with Mike Tyson
is stupid.
Is not very bright, okay? No. Because even if it is an exhibition and you go to pull your face back, he's going to annihilate your face if you miss.
Oh yeah. Here, let me be real clear here. I would rather put a bikini on and walk around with a round sign in that ring than to go in there for even 15 seconds with him trying to hit me. Yeah. Because my fat ass would not be able to run away from him for 15 seconds before he would catch me, hold me in a corner, and pummel me. Robin, he'd hit me so many times I wouldn't know which one was worse.
There are two things that I can't think of an amount of money that you could pay me to do. One would be to hit my mother. Two would be to get in a ring with Mike Tyson and actually have to box him.
Right. Yeah. So I'm assuming though that not only is it because you would never hit your mother, but also because she would whoop your ass if you did.
Yeah. You're 100% right.
Yes. Okay. Good deal.
It's like a golden rule. Two people you don't fight in life: your mother and Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson. Exactly. That's true. There you go. Somebody should make that T-shirt. I'm telling you.
It's two rules.
Yeah.
And there's been like 30-something guys, 40-something guys that went against the rule, and they all learned the hard way, except for a couple.
Right.
But I mean, exactly. Even if they won, they still lost an ear. So it is.
That's a good point. Really I don't know any of them that beat him that still felt good afterwards. Like that it was, that they came out on top.
It's
Buster Douglas. That was probably it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've covered the Mike Tyson thing, So tonight, we're going to talk about a couple of things. One of the big things we're going to talk about tonight, and neither of these guys knows this yet, is loyalty, and not in the way you think. So we're going to talk about loyalty and how it may bite you in the ass and your race program. And it's become really apparent to me that this is a problem in the racing community. Where loyalty is the problem. And I know that sounds weird, but bear with me and we'll go over that. We're also going to talk about the Tailgate Throwdown tonight. Ryan has some announcements on that. And we are going to talk about the mini Nats in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, which is gorgeous, by the way. At least in Damon's pictures it is. And everything I've heard, it has a great main drag to cruise. And when I say drag, I mean that literally in the truck world. But yeah, we're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff. So, Ryan, do you want to end with your thing or start with your thing? I'm down either way.
Man, we can start with it. I'm okay. Going to just touch on it. Obviously, the Tailgate Throwdown has turned into an absolute banger. And
I'm so excited for you and so sorry at the same time.
Well, I can't say enough about everybody who's joined in and got behind it. It's been absolutely amazing. And we're looking forward to a great weekend, but it looks like weather is going to try to slap us in the face like Mike Tyson. And so we have some impending doom that may push us out. So we're going to, I got to meet after this, and we're going to have a little live on the Facebook channel or Facebook page. I'm sorry, not the channel, but Facebook page to talk about it. And I'm going to, you talk about loyalty. I don't know if I think I know where you're going to go with it, but I'm feel very loyal to everybody who's gotten behind this deal. And instead of me picking a date, I'm going to pick 3 dates, and I'm going to put up a poll, and I'm going to let the racers decide.
That's awesome.
It's going to be their deal, and majority will rule. Probably if we do in fact call it, which it's looking like it's going to be the case tonight, then unless some miracle happens and some jet stream flies in and pushes everything away, which I doubt, but it can happen nonetheless. Anyway, I think that's the only way to do it. I picking a date that works for me, hell, I can make it work whenever, but it's the people that are going to be coming are the ones that make the race awesome. And I want to make sure that those guys have a hand in making that choice. So anyway, long story short, Tailgate Throwdown is still going down. We just don't know if it's going to be in 2 days or in a month or what, but it's going to happen.
Well, and that's a great segue, and I'm glad you mentioned the loyalty of the racers and fans and everything that you've had who are members on the page. And if you want to go to the Tailgate Throwdown Facebook page and join, you can find out more information on that event. It's going to be awesome. This first year, tailgates mean trucks. Next year, tailgates will also mean wagons. They'll have their own class.
We're working on that thing.
Now, the loyalty that you are talking about, Ryan, is the best kind, right? As good human beings, we should be loyal to those who love us and that we love. We should be loyal to those that support us. We should support them in kind. Whether that's your racing buddies or your competitors in some cases, right? Like that are dudes you have a lot of respect for and all of those things. And so, you'd do anything for them. Those are the things that absolutely loyalty matters. Yeah. But where I'm going, and the loyalty that I think bites everybody in the ass is, and I was talking to a guy that you guys would all know very well, who owned a couple of sanctioning bodies earlier today. And I said, in my example, it's like the Whataburger versus In-N-Out argument, right? We somehow, at some point in our lives or in history, decided that you can only like one thing, okay? And we decided that you either are a Whataburger person or you're an In-N-Out person, and God forbid you like both, okay? You just can't do it. You got to pick one, right? Well, I don't believe that that's how we should do things, right? I believe that if you like Whataburger, you should eat Whataburger. And if you also like In-N-Out, you should eat the hell out of In-N-Out. I think In-N-Out makes a great hamburger, but their French fries suck, okay? I think Whataburger has great French fries. I think Whataburger does some burgers really good, okay? So with that said, why is it that we have become a racing culture that has not everybody, but a very big, loud group of racers who believe that they can only support one sanctioning body or one group of events, right? You get guys that are like NHRA till the day I die, and they won't race anything else. You get guys that are IHRA guys who won't race anything else, right? You get guys that are, going to do only, we're never going to race our gassers anywhere except Southeast Gassers Association, whatever, right? Yeah. You're doing a disservice to yourself and everybody else, okay? I hear it all the time, right? Because I'm doing live streams at races all over the country, all different sanctioning bodies, because I don't care. That doesn't matter. Are they good people? Yes. Then I'm going to go and help them and be part of the event. Damon does the same thing. But I know that all three of us have seen a huge number of people who are like, "Oh no, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go to that WDRA race because I'm an IHRA's man." Well, you know what? You're an idiot, and I'm going to say that just straight up. You're an idiot, and here's why. If you look at in the bracket race world, if you look at the most prolific, the most famous, the most wins, the most championships, all those things, right? You look at all of those dudes who have done the biggest and baddest things. We'll use Dan Fletcher as the example. Okay. Fletcher has run stock and super stock and comp eliminator and super comp for 1 million years, right? He used to get a bunch of shit because if he lost at an NHRA divisional or national event, it was like a bet as to how long it would take him to pack up and be heading out. Well, the thing is, I used to judge him on that years ago, and a lot of people did. But what it was he was going to another race. He knew every race that was reasonable to get to and at what point was too late to get there from the first event if he lost and was out, right? So he may be at a divisional that's an NHRA race and know that 150 miles away is an IHRA doubleheader, right? So maybe he's not going to make it on Friday, but Saturday's race he's going, and he's trying to win points and he's trying to win money, okay? And he did not care. He'd race anywhere. Hell, if there was enough of a bracket race pot, he was going and doing that. All of the big name heavy hitter bracket racers race at all the promoters' races. If you are so short-sighted that you stick with one and only one, it's you that is suffering, okay? you are suffering because you are not getting to race your car or truck or whatever as many times as you could. And then secondarily, you are hurting everybody's sanctioning body or the racetrack, right? So if your favorite racetrack is doing a race this week that is, some promoter you don't like, and you go, oh, well, my car fits in there, but I'm not going to go to that race because I don't want to go and support that. Well, so you're screwing the racetrack that you should be supporting, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to think bigger picture here. And again, loyalty, there is good loyalty and there is bad loyalty. And the bad loyalty, you think you're helping somebody out and ultimately hurting drag racing as a whole. And we are all in this giant ass boat and we have to keep it afloat. And if you don't go and support all the racing that you can, again, you're doing a disservice.
Yeah, well, I think that it also spills into unsanctioned events. Like you have guys that are hardcore no prep racers that will not race on a prep service.
Right.
They just hate it. If it's a prepped event, they want no part of it. And then vice versa. You got guys who are only going to run on a prep surface, don't want even to try or attempt a no prep, which I get. Right. Two totally different scenarios. You got to know your crap when you're doing that, right? You got to change your setup on your car, which is a pain in the butt. I get it, but there's always bickering from both sides. There's I'd never run a no prep event. Oh, I'd never run a prep event. And really, let's face it, if you're running no prep, it's probably because you can't figure out how to make your car go fast on a sticky surface, right?
Right.
Same difference. You're running a prep event because you can't get outside your box and figure out how to make your car run on a crappy surface.
But why would you want to, miss out on the opportunity to go out and have a good time and race your car? I mean, Ryan, you and I know people that 100% fit into this box, right? That we know well. And I mean, I grew up street racing and racing NHRA stock eliminator and going to NHRA races and all that. I don't give a shit. I'll race on a gravel road, dude. It don't matter to me. Let's go. Like, I don't care how prepped it is or how prep it ain't. Let's just have a race,
That's one of the things, and I don't know, Damon, you chime in, dude. I think that drives me crazy is I've gone to races where the surface wasn't that great, right? It wasn't supposed to be a no prep, but the prep wasn't what they expected, right?
Right.
And that's going back to the Tailgate Throwdown. What I love about that is we know that this track is not the stickiest track on the planet. It's not going to be a true no prep race. But we had Clay Smith in here earlier, and he's got one badass truck he's bringing from DFW, and he runs on prep services. You know what? He's like, screw it, challenge is on. I'm going to go throw some other tires on the truck, and I'm going to come swinging at it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's awesome. But I have
and also here's the other part about that, like just the side note, and Damon has seen this a bunch too. Okay, let's say you're a prep only guy. And you decide you're going to go, screw it, I'm going to throw a big tire on this thing. Let's try and go to the snow prep race, right? What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is you go out there and you don't talk to a soul and you go out and blow the tires off and you're done, right?
Yeah.
But you know what else might happen? You might ask some friends on Facebook or some buddies that do no prep to come out there and help you do some setup changes, or you might meet some people at that race and go, man, I don't know how to find my ass from a hole in the ground out here. I'm used to a radial only deal. I wish somebody would help me, and dudes will help you. And you know what? You might meet some new friends. You might end up with some cool new stories. Like you could be missing out on a whole bunch of things. Okay. And that is the part that I think is sad about it. I mean, go ahead, Damon. Yeah, I know you've got something to say on it.
Well, there's a few things here. First of all, this mentality of not supporting, picking one or the other. We've seen this now for about the last 15 years. And honestly, where it comes from, and while I slightly agree with McTaggart in regards to the tribal warfare mentality, it comes from politics, and it comes from the amount of crap that has been pushed down people's throats in the last 15, 16, 17 years. Pick a side, and you can't have any other options besides that side. You can't have a thought process of your own.
Yep.
And you're going to do what we tell you to do. And if you're not loyal to us, then we're going to take to social media and make you look like a chump. And and unfortunately, you've got entirely too many racers who are, and not necessarily in the bracket world, more in the prep, no prep, heads up type of stuff, that are entirely too worried about their public perception, the way that people look at them publicly. So it also becomes a big fish, little pond scenario where, and I call it, and I've noticed this and I have the utmost respect for this person. Like, I think he's one of the best drivers ever to do it, but it's the Billy Glidden syndrome. If I don't think that I am going to come there and dominate and win, I'm not going to go. And whether, back in the NMCA days and in the late 90s and early 2000s, we didn't have this nearly as much. You had, especially in the Ford community, because you had Fun Ford Weekend, you had NMRA, and you had racers that would go do both sanctioning bodies. Right. But now we've got, let's just take Pro Mod for a second. You've got NMCA, you've got Northeast Outlaw Pro Mods, you've got PDRA, you've got Midwest, you've got NHRA, you've got the stuff that IHRA is doing. And then you've got a ton of one-off races. So in that aspect, you have to look at the cost of being able to run multiple series. That, whether it's the travel or vehicles, whatever. Right. Then you've got the difference in rules. If I'm a prep guy and I sit here and say, I would never go do no prep, I think, because I did my first big no prep event last year at War in the Woods. Right. That was sketchy. Awesome, wasn't it? That was awesome. And the people,
but it's the sketchiest place ever.
Yes. But the people were absolutely amazing. The crowd, the racers, everybody. It was just a great time. Here's the deal with no prep, though. If I'm a prep racer, the amount of knowledge that I can learn about my setup and how to drive, because we have entirely too many pocketbooks letting go of buttons in cars now that have no business driving even top sportsman cars. We're talking 380s, 390s in a lot of scenarios. There are a lot of button pushers. Did I just freeze up, or did we all freeze up?
No, it's just you, man.
No, just you, just your face. It'll unfreeze in a second. I'm sure.
Well, if it doesn't, you guys could just look at it this way. So I'm sitting here going, one, the licensing needs to be done differently for these faster cars. But when you're talking small tire cars, if I'm a small tire guy and I'm just not getting it done, I go to a no prep and learn how to drive your car and tune for a crappy track. Yeah. So that when you do have a good track, you could just go rip on it.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, you guys are all frozen on my end.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here, hold on. Let me remove you and put you back in and see if that helps. Oh, that did not help. You are blank now. Can you hear us still?
Hold on. I got an idea. Hold on.
You can drop out and come. Yeah, there you go. So, one of the things that Damon is bringing up, which is a very good point, is the pocket racers, as Nick is, commenting on as well. I've been really, 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 really vocal on this podcast and at every race I go to, that there are people that drive race cars, and then there are race car drivers. Okay. Yep. I have said this for the last few years, and it is the truth. Okay. Some people are along for the ride, right? They let go of the button and they're trying, but they're behind the 8 ball the whole time. Yep. And then there are other people who are driving race cars. Because they're race car drivers. Okay. Not just a guy riding in one. And race car drivers are a different thing. And some of the there are a lot of people with a lot of money doing drag racing, and that's okay, right? That's not me because I just don't have it, or I would be doing that as well. But so I'm not bagging on people with money. It's not that. It's just that, like everywhere, there are some people that are, race car drivers and some that are just driving race cars. Unfortunately, a broke dick guy isn't going to be out at the races being a guy driving a race car, right? Because he's not going to be able to afford it. So the bad rap for guys with money is that there are a bunch of them who are these guys that just pay to go drive, and they're not any good at it, or not very good at it, or not good enough at it. And they give all the rich guys sort of a bad name. Not all of them, but you know what I'm saying. And and that's unfortunate. And those guys tend to be the ones who, because they're doing it for ego and that kind of stuff, as opposed to because they want to have a good time and be competitive. A lot of those guys are just churn up all the political side of things even worse, right? Oh, yeah. And I mean, if we haven't learned anything in the last, 6 or 7 or 8 years or whatever, from the politics in the United States of America about the fact that, being so gnarly that you stick to only one thing is just not good, then I don't know. There's no help for you, but I was just talking about the money guys and guys who drive race cars versus race car drivers, right? Because I say there's a difference and have.
Oh, absolutely.
But here's the thing I said, Damon, was unfortunately, if you're a broke dick, you can't just go out and race, right? Like at the level these guys are, right? So unfortunately, that means that the biggest portion of guys who are just hanging on in a car, especially like pro mod levels or whatever, those guys are rich guys because it's the only way you can afford to do that, right? So it gives all the money guys sort of a bad image, even the good ones. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not saying it like all these guys that can't drive or aren't as good as they should be are not great people. Like some of them are amazing. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I know some of these guys who they know they're not great drivers, right? But they go out there to do it for fun, and they, and with any luck, they don't crash and hurt people or themselves, and they have a good time, and that's great, but those guys, because of the ego that's involved a lot of times, again, it just makes this whole political side of things way, more of a big deal. And I can tell you that there's a racetrack recently that swapped over from being an NHRA track to a WDRA track. And that was, they were debating between IHRA and WDRA. And the track owners talked to the racers and, did a private, Facebook group and all this stuff and said, hey, what do you guys want? We're here's the pros of this, here's the pros of that, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, like they ended up going WDRA, but even the track owner was a little bit hesitant on that, not because there's something wrong with WDRA. I'm not bashing on them, but because a bunch of the racers said, oh, I want to be, because the other track that's an hour and a half away is also WDRA. So, that way we can run both on the same thing. And he was like, but we're never going to race on top of them. We're working together on our schedule. So wouldn't you want to be IHRA so you could go for an IHRA championship and a WDRA championship? Like, wouldn't you want to do? Because I would. If I had my druthers, I would live where there were 3 racetracks within an hour of my house, and it would be IHRA, NHRA, WDRA, because then I'd be all in.
So essentially, you would live where I live, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Yes, except it's way too close to you.
The thing of it is, I think is an issue here is yes, money. There is the comparison or the contrast, I should say, right? No matter how much money you have, you can buy the race car, you can buy the toter home, you can buy the double stacker. You cannot buy the experience. The experience takes time, right?
Yep.
And there are some guys, like you said, that have the money to buy the right people to give them that experience. And then there's some guys that go, you know what? I love having a race car. I love owning a race car. I know I'm not qualified to run that race car, so I'm going to get this guy to run this race car. And that's right. Fine too. Now, But I'm a firm believer in that if you're going to invest the money, like if I was a guy who had the money to throw at drag racing like that, right?
Right.
I would be the guy that would go between both. Why wouldn't you? Because you're going to
Right.
gain more experience behind the wheel of your race car. If you're the guy who's sitting home waiting for, the next event 30 days from now, sure, your maintenance on your car is going to cost you X amount of dollars if you're racing it more. I totally get that. But if you are the guy that has that kind of money to spend on that, then I would bounce back between anything that was open to go race so I can get faster and faster and faster. That's the only way you dominate. Right.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I don't understand why you wouldn't, I just think about all the times. Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, it's kind of insulting to me. And this is me, not anybody else, this problem. But, I've given up fucking years of racing cars, years, to bring racing to the rest of you assholes out there watching. Okay. Like years and years. Okay. Literally not racing my own junk, not finishing my own stuff, etc., because I spend every waking moment somewhere else doing other things for other people. And I'm not saying that as a, oh, woe is me kind of thing, but I would love to be able to race multiple places all the time. And so it's sort of insulting to me when somebody says to me, oh, I'm not going over there because that's the NHRA track. I'm not going to the NHRA track, and it's like, dude, you're a dick. Like, you should take every opportunity you have to go racing,
Well, I will say this though, and Chad, you know this too, in defense of some people, there are certain tracks that I will not cover an event at. And usually it's because of the track owner or the track staff and the rules that they have in place or the way that you get treated there. And
and that's a different thing. Like, if you don't go to a local racetrack because they're mean there or they're unprofessional or the place is dirty or the crowd is bad because they don't do things right, like whatever, that's a different thing. And I get that. Right. I mean, so I understand that side 100%. And you and I look at it differently than Ryan, although Ryan does do race coverage a little now as part of his channel. But, you and I have spent so many years on the wall or on scissor lifts or wherever shooting video and photos and all these things at events. We get to know track staff in a different way and other photographers and other whatever. And, other media people. And that side of things is very different sometimes than the experience that racers get. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes the racers also get those mean and nasty people, and that is not cool. If if you're going to go on, and beg people to come support your local racetrack, but then you are the local racetrack and you are not good to the people that do come to visit you, then shame on you. You deserve whatever you get,
Well, there's a track just south of here. I'm not going to say the name, but it's been around a long time and it's under new ownership because it passed hands. And the guy who runs it now is an absolute jackwagon. He gets on the internet and totes his own horn like he's some kind of big shot. He only opens the track up for private testing. We're open all year round, but only for private testing. We may have an event, we may not. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, if you have the best service in the world and I had the fastest race car and I only went so fast at your track, I could run slower times anywhere else. There'd be no way I'd set foot on your property.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So
Tom Gunner in the house saying no profanity at Yellow Belly, folks. Hey, we love the gut, dude. We and Ryan are fans of the gut. So that, Tommy. Now, I will say Yellow Belly is one of those racetracks that has changed a lot.
Yeah.
And yet hasn't changed at all. Okay. So Ryan knows, Tom knows, well, he's young, so he doesn't know as much, but, Yellow Belly is rough and it is, an outlaw racetrack and all those things. And there are so many things about it that are quirky and weird and awesome. I mean, I love it, right? Like, and some of the best tacos on the planet. But it used to be way, 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 way more outlaw and way sketchier and way scarier and all the things.
Yeah.
It is much better than it used to be. And it still has all the character you want it to have. And it still is not for everyone, which is why it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's at a normal race, not like Tom's, big small tire gangsta show. But at a normal Thursday night or any other normal race there, if you see 2 or 3 trailers open, all of them, that's weird. Like, people don't bring trailers to Yellow Belly. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's
that's
partially because you'll have to have somebody stay there with it the whole time.
And that, honestly, Yellow Belly is a track. Like, when we were in Texas last year for Midwest, Daniel, who, it is what it is. He asked me if I wanted to go to Yellow Belly with him one night when we were done early. And I said, no, I don't have enough bail money with me.
No, you would love it. You would love it. I tell everybody this story about Yellow Belly because this sounds like a name dropping story, but that's not the point of the story. I took Lyle wanted to go, and it was the fall NHRA race was in town. And this was, I guess, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, something like that. Anyway, Lyle wanted to go to Yellow Belly on Thursday night. I'm like, okay, we're going. And so Kurt Johnson was there. And we said to Kurt, I said, dude, you want to go to Yellow Belly with us? He's like, hell yeah. And, Kurt and I have been friends for years. And so we said, okay, let's go. Well, Kurt told Leah and Tony, and so they said, oh, we want to go too. So then one of their sponsors and a couple crew guys and whatever, I took everybody. Okay. We were there till 3:00 in the morning, ate $150 worth of Taco Lady tacos, like drank a bunch of beer on the starting line, had a great time. Yep. Okay. Not a single person said hello to Leah or Tony, and that could be because they didn't know who the hell they were, or because they're like, man, they're here having a good time. We don't care. And they had an awesome time. It is so not their normal scene, and that's why they had a great time at it. And now, to be honest with you, like Leah and I, we're both Californians, and so we have some funny things that we have in common and we laugh about all the time. But Tony is a great guy, and he's a normal dude. He may be worth $1 jillion, but he's a totally normal, humble, like regular guy to hang out with, and he's awesome. And so they had a great time. He was betting money and drinking beer and having a good time, and nobody won as much money as Kurt, though. Kurt was like, dude, oh my God. I bet he took home $1,000 betting on the starting line. It was epic. So, and it's fun. So you would have a good time there, Damon, but
it's some of the best fun you'll ever have.
It's just so out of the norm of drag racing and yet so pure at the same time.
Oh, dude, it's so when Yellow Belly. So I used to go to Yellow Belly back in the late 90s, early 2000s, back when Bud Morgan was out there running it pretty hard, and I was also a Texas Raceway guy. I was at Texas Raceway more often, but we would use that track if we were going to go street racing, maybe up in Oklahoma or whatever. Then we would go there and do some testing because it was it hit pretty good to the first 60 foot, but it has its own ways when you get out there. So we would go up there and
the one lane and the shutdown and
we let the truck get unsettled and learn what it wanted, and so it was great for that. But I mean, some of the best times I had at that track. I mean, I got pantsed. You want to talk about a bad situation? I'm hanging out with Randy Bess. And I think Limpy was there and a couple other people. We were hanging out in the back of my truck, and I'm standing on the fence. We've been drinking beer, and I'm standing on the fence, and I'm hanging on to it. And my buddy Clayton walks up behind me and pantsses me. Well, when he does, my belt's tight, so it takes my draws with it.
Oh, no.
Here's old cracker boy sitting on the fence with his ding-dang hanging out, and I'm trying to pull my pants back up. And he's like, why the hell did your britches come down? Because I have my belt tight, dude. What the hell? It was the worst, dude. I didn't go to bed at all that night. I'm not going down there. I ain't doing that. But everybody has it's so dangerous, and it's
So
not
awesome.
bad as long as if you're gonna bet, pay your bet. That's it. And
yes. Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah, but you know what? That goes anywhere. I mean, XRP is the nicest 8th mile drag strip in the world, but if you don't pay your bet there, somebody's beating your ass. He might look like this guy.
Yeah, it was so hard to get my pants back up too because my belt was so tight. That was such a bitch. I was so mad, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh, Jesus. Neil says that's full Ryan right there.
Yeah, it was a full Ryan. Yeah, the people on the other side of the fence, they were
laughing their asses off. Yeah,
they were not pleased. I can tell you.
That's awesome. Oh God,
they had the same look on their face my wife has.
So what do you? What do you think is necessary to get people when there is no other underlying reason? What do you think it takes to get people to go and participate anywhere they can race if they've got a weekend free and they want to go racing?
Man, it's tough because I think right now, and I'm learning something different through doing the Tailgate Throwdown thing. I was looking at things like if you don't have a bunch of money, people aren't going to come.
Right.
If you're not throwing out a bunch of money, you're not going to get a lot of great racers. And I'm here to tell you, now we didn't actually get to have the event, but these guys, I've talked to a lot of them today, and they're hardcore. They're like, man, I just want to do this event. I don't care. I want the trophy, and Chad's made some just awesome trophies for this thing. And
yes. He did a good job.
Dude, it's killer. And so he's like, everybody's like, I want the trophy. I'm like, no, that's badass. That's what, to me, like money is money, right? And if you're winning money to let's say you go win $5,000 and you blow your motor up in the final round, it's going to cost you $6,500 for a short block. Okay. At least it's not going to cover it, but at least it helps. So I understand that portion of it.
Right.
But I think society has kind of lost sight of what's really important. And what's important to me with drag racing is I'm going out and I'm spending a day with something I put together, and I'm going to try to make it go as fast as I can. I'm going to do it with my friends,
Right.
And that's important to me. But people are so money motivated anymore. It seems as though if you're not slinging bags of cash around, then people aren't interested.
So
yeah, but
Chad,
go ahead. Yeah.
You remember Gene Nicodemus from what was that track?
North Star. Yeah, Denton, North Star. Yeah, we both know Gene real well.
Him and I had a long conversation. This was years ago. This was when that Denton was still open, and still a racetrack. In heads up racing, the problem that we've run into is exactly what Ryan touched on. These guys no longer want to bring their cars out for small purse money. Like it, I've done Donald Long's races for the better part of 15 years. When Donald started paying out ridiculous amounts of money in radio, it negatively affected Denton and everywhere else. Yep. Because then everybody is like, I'm not going to drag my shit out for less than $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to win.
Yep.
I get it because the cost of doing this has gotten exponentially higher. And honestly, I think that's why tracks have started to rely on drag and drive, no prep, things like that there's not as much cost in prepping the track for one. And you can use those funds towards other things like payouts to get people to show up. The problem is, and again, I know I've known Chad obviously forever. And I'm starting to see it in NHRA right now. Yet again, it's all the eggs in one basket. So what happens when somebody like Donald decides, I've had enough, I think it's time to hang it up?
Right.
He has built an event over the last decade and a half that people come to, that people pay a lot of money to come to, even as spectators with golf carts and everything else. That is a very lucrative business. And people need to remember, owning and running a drag strip or being a promoter is a business. This is not a charity.
Right.
So what happens when he walks away? Are all of a sudden all of these X Ultra limit, or Pro 275 RVW LDR cars, they just going to park them, or all of a sudden are they going to have to reel it back in and go, well, we're going to have to start going racing for $5,000 again?
Right.
Because not every promoter is going to be putting up in the same thing is happening in Pro Mod. And I see it all the time. I had this discussion with Mark from DSP while we were at PRI, and Cecil County is having a one-off Pro Mod race outside of Yellow Bullet. Wes has his World Series of Popular People, and then now Keith is doing this SmackDown race at Flying H. And we talk about I don't want to go racing other places because I'm loyal to this or that. I think that when money comes into play, though, loyalty starts going out the window. But at the same time, it is, how do we keep this whole thing that is drag racing moving forward, knowing we're not always going to have those kind of payouts? We're going through a time over the last 15 to 20 years that is a complete anomaly, because you are not going to see promoters coming into the game at 23, 24, 25 years old that are going to be able to raise the money, and sponsors aren't going to just hop on board the first year or two with a promoter that they may or may not know and go, oh, I'll put up $25,000. It's not going to happen. So,
No.
I think some people are loyal to where the money is right now, and it's not a great thing for drag racing, because Chad, I mean, we remember when Alan Abbey decided to take all their money and go home.
Yeah.
Or what happens? What's the new one? Skag or whatever. I'm looking at that going, when is that money going to dry up and go home? I mean,
well, and there are way too many examples of really good people in the drag racing community who have lots of money who went, okay, I'll be the one to foot the bill and support it, right? The pro mod category is the perfect example. It's happened forever. I'm not going to name the Whiteleys, but the Whiteleys are some of them. There's a lot of great people who have said, you know what, we'll write the check to do some of these things. And that's all great. But the reality is that that's not sustainable for the long term. It just isn't. And if somebody gets, their feelings hurt or gets mistreated, then they're not going to feel like they should, keep some, foot in the bill. And I understand that, and also one of the problems too, like with this giant money deal that, Haney and Buck are doing, is that now this has become a throw your dick on the table contest, right? Which is not what it should be. Okay. And I'm not bashing on either one of them, but they need to make sure, because I don't believe that either one of them started either of these events for that purpose. But it's real easy when somebody one-ups you to start feeling like, oh shit, this is a competition. And quite frankly, I think they're both doing it wrong. I think they're both promoting it the wrong way. If it were me, I was Wes, I would be promoting his race in a whole different way than he does. But it's not my race, so it's okay. And he does great. And it's a killer race everybody wants to go to. But, you got to have $2,500 to enter, and, or whatever it is, $3,000. I don't know what it is now.
That's why I really, I'm not going to say I'm super attracted to no prep, because I do like the aspect of prepped racing, but I think as a spectator, not necessarily a media guy who has been around this industry for over 30 years, but a spectator, going to a no prep event is, if it's done right and it's done in a smooth, controlled, if everything is well organized.
Yep.
As a spectator, It's hard to beat that because that shows me, as idiotic as some people think it is, who can actually drive, who can actually read a track, figure shit out, get their vehicle to work right.
Oh, yeah.
No prep is extremely attractive to spectators, to racers, to track owners, because now we're not using 15 barrels of glue in a weekend at, you know, the exponential costs.
Radial racing sucks to watch. Okay. And it does. And Lyle and I have been talking about this for years, right? And don't get me wrong, I love it on the one hand, okay? But it sucks from a spectator standpoint. If you spend as much time during the day having a tractor go up and down your racetrack as you do having race cars go up and down your racetrack, that's a problem.
Pro mod has almost turned into that though now too.
I agree.
And I will tell you exactly why, and then because I know Ryan's got something to say.
Oh,
but I will tell you exactly why this is happening. This is happening because people don't know how to read a racetrack anymore, and they don't know how to tune their vehicle for the track that they are given. They expect that the track comes to them instead of them dealing with the track that they are given. Agreed. Because they want a dick swinging home run contest every pass, and every pass has got to be close to a record breaking pass. And I don't care if it's pro mod, I don't care if it's NHRA, I don't care if it's radial racing. They all want, it's this, hey, look at me society. And don't get me wrong, there is I've seen some great side-by-side radial racing in the last 6 to 8 months. But it happens in the evenings, it happens at night. It's certainly the hell not going to happen in the middle of the afternoon at 3:00 in the afternoon when the sun is beating down on the track.
Right.
Yeah.
But then what you have, and this is not to take away from any of the tuners in it, because I don't need my phone to all of a sudden explode with every tuner from Pro Line and everywhere else calling me going, you know, screw you. Tuners, what I have seen is if the track is great, they take all the credit for it. If the track sucks, or if they missed it, the track sucks. It's not one of those, you know, oh, we spun the tires and, you know, I really missed the tune-up on that one. It's, oh, that track is junk right now. We're going to park our shit for 3 hours until the sun goes down. So,
my 2 cents on it is I think it's technology. Technology has hurt a lot of things, right? And it's taken a lot of what used to be skill set out of the picture. And with that comes a lot of leaning on tuners, and tuners have a lot on their shoulder. And then you're right, they come up with excuses. But at the end of the day, I think that the core of the problem is the way things are promoted. And now I'm new to promoting. Okay. This is the event I'm putting on is the first event I've ever put on. I've been a part of many events. I've watched them. I've seen where they missed it. I've seen where they nailed it. And I'm trying to take those pieces and put it together and make it about the event more than about the surface. And I think that if you change the mindset, it's just like any job, or, you know, if you're at a job for 10 years and it's the same mundane shit every day, obviously you either have to find something within yourself to change that mindset, or the company has to shift, right? And within that comes positive change. It may take some time, but it comes along. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the way things are promoted and the way you look at the race. Is it just about going there and being the fastest guy? So like my idea with this whole thing was like, hey, look, I don't care how fast your shit is. I want fast guys there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to beat this thing up with rules. We'll have a class for really fast guys, but we'll also have a platform for the normal guy like me who's just got a big block in a truck and thinks it's fast, right?
Right.
And if you preface it with, hey, let's see how many people we can get in here, and let's see how many trucks we can put on the property, and you switch the focus to, man, I can't wait to go get there and hang out with all these dudes and all these trucks and all this stuff. and race 2.
Right.
And that's where you switch away from chasing the money. And what Donald Long has done, I'll leave you with this because I got to hop on to the other one now. But food for thought. What Donald Long has done for radio racing is amazing. It's nothing short of amazing.
Yeah.
And I can't sit back and look. I mean, it's just like what the guys I used to run on the street with turned into a massive television show and now a huge No Prep King series, right?
Right.
What they've done is nothing short of amazing, right?
Right.
But within that, there are things that need to be fixed instead of ignored because they're chasing the dollar. And you have to look at this. This is not a lot. This is not a hobby. This is a lifestyle. Hot rods, drag racing, whether there's mini trucks, whatever, it is a lifestyle. And if the lifestyle is no longer conducive to what it once was, everyone who is in that current lifestyle has to turn around and look at themselves and say, what can I do as an individual to make this shit better? Instead of standing around with their thumb up their backside going, well, I can't figure it out. I'm one person. Bullshit. It starts with one person and it goes from there. So,
because you're 100% right, because let's use IHRA versus NHRA as the example, right? So IHRA shouldn't try and be NHRA, right? Any more than NHRA should be trying to be IHRA. IHRA should be the best version of itself it can be, whatever that is. And I firmly believe, like, I grew up as an NHRA guy thinking that IHRA was a bunch of weirdo rednecks because it wasn't on the West Coast, right? And I was an NHRA kid. But with that said, like Larry Jeffers, he's been on the show. Larry's awesome. I love that guy. He is a super good human being, and I enjoy being around him thoroughly. He is incredibly thoughtful. He's kind. He's nice. That dude, here's one thing. He wants IHRA to be different in that he wants to take care of racers and have them feel like they are respected and treated well and that they're special, because he truly believes they are. Larry is the guy who legitimately, he walked into XRP or drove into XRP last weekend for the IHRA, hot rod shootout. And he goes in there, or hot rod classic, sorry. He goes in, he pulls up to the gate and pays. Mm-hmm. It's his event. Yeah. He has a wristband on.
Yeah.
And he throws $5 or $10 at him or whatever. He did that with his own racetrack. His racetrack in Sykeston, he paid whatever couple of bucks he had in his pocket, he put in every single time he came in the gate. He does that because he cares. He also was at XRP, and when they were short-staffed a little bit because Galen was not only running the race, but also driving in the race, dude, Larry went out and ran the water box all day on Thursday and part of the day on Friday and Saturday. He also ran my starting line camera for the live stream.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, it's something I said the other night when I was on a podcast about the Throwdown. The guy said, man, what you've done is amazing, and I cannot wait to be a part of it. You know what I told him? It's not about me. Yeah. I didn't do anything. I had an idea. It takes a village of people to make anything great. I don't care what it is, a city, a building, your children. It takes a village.
Your family,
But again, it goes back to, we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and go, what the hell do we love about drag racing? Is it chasing money and clout and internet fame? Or is it, I freaking love drag racing?
Yeah. And is it burnouts and wheel stands and talking smack? Yes.
Damn right. That's it. But anyway, I've got to split. I hate that I got to do it, but I appreciate it.
No, it's all right, dude. We're going to shut this down here in a minute anyway. You go. We're going to talk about mini trucks for a minute and then cut it off here in about 15 minutes anyway. So you go have fun. I'm sorry you're canceling the event, but you can't change the weather.
Chad thinks he's going to be done in 15 minutes. I've got news for him.
All right, Damon, it was nice talking to you, bud.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. All right. Well, let's talk mini trucks then. Maggie Valley, mini truck and Nats.
So self-plug.
Yes.
Because there is a social media outlet that apparently didn't like the fact that I put up a link to an article that I wrote today and actually labeled it as cyber something, a cyber security breach or something like
What?
that. Oh yeah. So I couldn't put the link. I couldn't put it in a post. I couldn't put it as a comment. Nothing. So I did a podcast today. It is on the YouTube channel, but there also is an article, and all of the galleries are up on the website. Anyways, personal plug. So, Chad, I will tell you this, and you and I have talked about this before. If you ever get the chance, I will never ever choose to go to the racetrack over going to mini truck nats again, ever. I told Ellen this today. I said, if you schedule a 2025 race on the same weekend as mini nats, I won't be there.
Okay, because it's that good.
So I started seeing, because I'm on some of the other like the bagged boards, and
yeah, me too. Yeah.
And even Chattanooga car enthusiasts, people were already rolling into Maggie Valley on like Tuesday.
No way.
This show started Friday morning. Now, here's some context for those that are listening or watching. Yeah. Maggie Valley is a city town. I call it a town.
Yeah,
with a total population of about 1,700 people.
Oh my God.
It is 2-lane in each direction through the city. There's some gas stations, hotels, restaurants.
Yeah.
It took me back to being a teenager, because I remember the days where Friday and Saturday night, before I got my driver's license, my best friend would come and pick me up on Friday night, and we would go cruising until the wee hours of the morning. Same with Saturday night. And then when I got my driver's license, I did the same thing all the way up until my early 30s, when I parked my car, and that was at the end of 2008.
Right.
So I get there on Friday morning, and I took like the back way, because Rod Run was in Pigeon Forge this weekend.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I would have had to go right past there to go to mini truck nats, and the traffic during Rod Run is a nightmare anyways. Right. So I take the back way, and when I tell you the back way, once you get off the interstate, I barely had any cell phone reception until I got to Maggie Valley.
That's awesome.
I'm driving like there's a cliff on this side, and there's a river over here, and it's like S curves for like 20, 30 miles, and all your phone says is SOS. You're not getting any reception. So anyways, I get up there about 9:30 in the morning. Gates opened. Gates were supposed to open at 9. I think they opened a little earlier, because there were like, and my buddy Justin is actually in the chat. He was there with his truck. Took me for a cruise on Friday night up and down the strip, and him and his family. I got to meet his kids, his wife, mother-in-law. Just great people. So I get there Friday morning. I ain't never been to Maggie Valley before.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about a town of 1,700 people with a fairgrounds right in the center of it.
Yeah.
So you got no idea. I mean, there are not signs on where to park. There are signs where you shouldn't park. And I'm like, okay, this parking lot looks good. It was right outside of the fairgrounds. Like, here's the fence, here's the fairgrounds. I'm parked inside this lot. I'm like, okay, this will work. And of course, I've got the Yukon. It's nothing special as far as like it's not something that I would try to enter in mini truck nats. Not at least not at this point. So I walk up, and I see all the trucks coming into a certain gate. So I've already got my camera, and I'm taking photos, and this was a last minute thing. So I didn't get a hold of the promoter to do like media credentials or anything like that. I'm just like, okay. And so I asked the woman, I said, I took a few photos of trucks coming in, and I said, where do spectators enter? Whole separate gate, like, I don't know, a few 100 feet down the fence line. $20 for the entire weekend. Best $20 I've probably spent in all of motorsports.
Great deal.
In all of motorsports in years.
Yeah.
The lines, the people working the line to get in, like this. just, going. And then once you got your wristband, you could go in and out either gate. It didn't matter.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So everything was so well organized. I walk in there, and on the spectator side, when you first walk in, you're walking right into the vendor midway. So you've got like Grinder TV for any of those that follow mini trucks.
Oh, yeah.
Grinder TV, Frank and Brian, I believe it is.
Yep.
Great guys. I got
Yeah.
to actually talk to them this weekend and thank them for what they do, because they do such a great job.
I watch all their videos. Their stuff.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
I just watched.
He didn't have his Toyota there, I know, because it's all the way across the country, but I really love his Toyota project.
And just the way that they present everything is so positive. So I'm walking through the vendor midway, and you've got your t-shirt vendors, and you've got your parts vendors, and yada yada yada. Walk through the fence line, and it was literally, Chad, like I was a kid coming down the stairs on Christmas morning. I walk through the fence line, and all I see in this entire valley, surrounded by beautiful mountains, and everything is turning green, and everybody is parked on grass, is hundreds upon hundreds of mini trucks.
And I love that. I'm a custom truck fan, and I mean, I have square bodies and all that, but I'm a mini trucker too, and I've finally got my Mitsubishi Mighty Max that I'm going to build back into the way I had mine before. Well, better than I ever had before. But even all like the biggest shows that are generically speaking just truck shows, they just don't have the concentration of mini trucks that I want. I want to go to a show where it's 99% mini trucks, and that's how this was, right?
Oh yeah. So like shows that you would be talking about, like I've done Orange Beach Invasion, I've done Scraping the Coast. You've probably been to LST out in Texas.
Yeah, I've been to LST a bunch of times. Yeah.
Most of those shows nowadays are lifted trucks with giant 26 by 12 wheels and a 12-inch lift kit and everything. This is the exact opposite of that. Like when I tell you, and so they, I think, accept 750 is what the allotted amount is to get into the show.
Oh, okay,
750 vehicles.
Right.
They had like 3,000 applications. And when I tell you there was 750 allowed, there were still, I'm willing to bet there were hundreds parked in the spectator lots, parked in other parking lots all across Maggie Valley, because everybody came together for this event. I'm willing to bet there were 1,000 trucks, and I mean, there were probably a total of less than 20 cars. But there was some super cool stuff that you'll see. I think I sent you. There were a couple of cars that I may have sent you in the gallery, and then. But yeah, I mean, we're talking everything from old school Datsuns and OBS, Rangers and Nissan hard bodies, Mazdas, the B series, whether it was the 2000, the 2200, the 2600. There was in it, and I have to, I preference this by some people who have never been to one of these types of shows. They're like, oh, it's just going to be loud music playing all the time, yada, yada, yada. I go to car audio competitions, obviously, because I competed a few weeks ago in one. No, it wasn't like that at all. They had a great DJ. I mean, this DJ was going from beginning to end. Show ends at 5:00 every day. Friday, Saturday ends at 5:00, ends at like 2:00 or something on Sunday. I didn't stick around for Sunday. The weather was supposed to
it ends at 5:00 on Friday and Saturday to encourage people to then go out in town, right?
Correct.
That is what it is all about. So all the people in town are going to benefit from this.
Well, that's where I was going with it. When you pull into Maggie Valley for mini truck Nats, if you own a business on that strip in Maggie Valley, you're going to see one of two things. It says, yes, we're open, and welcome back, mini truckers.
Really?
Restaurants, gas stations, hotels. There was not a hotel that was not sold out within 30 minutes of Maggie Valley.
Wow. That's awesome.
And it was so welcoming. And I talked about this in the article, is you and I know that this whole takeover thing has really put in a black eye on car culture. The cooperation, if you will, and general respect between mini truckers and first responders in Maggie Valley. The police would sit in the median because there's 2 lanes again each way, and then there's a center turn lane.
Right.
They would sit in certain areas of the turn lanes or in that center area right there, as long as you weren't speeding, which mini truckers typically don't do anyways because we all hate bumps.
Right.
If you weren't speeding and you weren't doing burnouts, you could drag for a mile if you wanted to and shoot
Nobody
sparks.
cared.
They didn't care. I saw probably shouldn't say this out loud, but there were thousands of other people there. I saw kids sitting on their dad's laps, and the kids were allowed to steer. It was like when we grew up in the 70s and 80s and our parents would take us and put us on their lap, or what. That's why it reminded me of when I was a kid and growing up and cruising, because as soon as the show was done, and even before the show, because people would go cruise during the day too.
Oh,
you walk out of the show and you walk, I don't know, a few hundred feet and you're already at the road. The amount of people that are lined up with lawn chairs on the sidewalk and right off the sidewalk goes for at least 2 miles, 3 miles in each direction on both sides of the road.
That's awesome.
These people are sitting out there at 5:00. And so I slept in the Yukon on Friday night.
Yeah.
Because the only hotel room I could get there was one available at the Comfort Inn right next door, and they wanted $240 for it.
Oh,
and I'm
like,
no, I'll sleep in the back seat of the Yukon.
Yeah.
And plus, I didn't want to lose my parking spot because I had a great parking spot.
There you go.
Those guys were out cruising until midnight, 12:30. I got up at about 7:30 in the morning. Gates were not supposed to open until 9 on Saturday. I woke up at 7:30. And I get out of the truck and I just walk around the backside of it, because then I'm facing the road that actually comes into the area that all the show trucks are coming in. There was already a line all the way out to the road and going down the road at 7:30 in the morning to get in.
That's awesome.
And they're pretty much all parking in the same spot that they were previously.
Yeah, you're right.
There was a ton of food vendors there, tacos, barbecue, whatever lemonade, whatever you needed. Again, the music playing. And I will tell you, Chad, one of the biggest things that I thought was so great about this show is, so they have a giant pavilion there.
Right.
And that's where the DJ was. And I walked past a couple of times and I'm seeing all this stuff up there. They've got skateboard decks, and they've got this custom LED sign with the 30th, because this was the 30th anniversary also.
Oh, okay.
So the 30th anniversary sign with the logo and everything that was, I still call them neon, but they're LED.
Yeah.
So they've got all this stuff, right? Saturday afternoon, they do a charity auction.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm big on that stuff.
They're doing a charity auction. I'm standing around it. I will tell you, if you ever go to this show, bring a freaking lawn chair, though. There's a lot of walking, and a lawn chair will really help. I'm sitting there watching this, and there's parts being auctioned off. There was like a plasma cutter that they had a raffle for, and the guy that won the plasma cutter in the raffle told them to auction it off.
That's awesome.
They ended up and then they also had the number 1 and number 2 entries to next year's show were also auctioned off.
Gotcha.
Because obviously it's hard to get into this show to begin with.
Yeah, it sells out.
It sells out like that. They ended up racing. They split it between two charities. I don't know what one of them was. I know the other one was like a shop with the cop type of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They raised $43,000 to split between the two charities.
That's great.
Like,
that's awesome.
You've got these mini truckers all bidding against each other. They all know each other.
Yeah.
And the family friendly atmosphere. There were people with dogs, and I never saw any dog crap anywhere.
Right.
For the amount of dogs that were there, I'm like,
right.
Everybody is cleaning up after themselves, apparently.
Right.
People were walking around with goats.
Okay.
Like awesome. On leashes. There were goats. Yeah. And it rained Friday and Saturday. Both days it rained. And there were
not all day though, right? Just like it's
But there were times where it rained.
Yeah.
Nobody cared.
That's awesome.
As soon as it stopped raining, everybody came back out from wherever they were trying to, hide under.
Get shelter. Yeah.
And everybody went back to wiping off their trucks and put a smile on their face. Like nobody cared. It was a little bit of an annoyance, but nobody cared that it rained.
That's awesome.
I liked my parking spot so much. I had to go to the gas station Friday night. I was out of cigarettes. I was out of soda.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose my parking spot, like I said. And the traffic was so thick, like with so many mini trucks, and there were probably a dozen split bed, dancing bed mini trucks there, the old school, like hydraulic dancing beds.
Videos with a bunch of them in it.
It was funny because I watched a video today on YouTube and I commented on it, and the guy is like, "Hey, you're the photographer that was standing right next to me while I was doing this. I remember the pink hair."
That's awesome.
But there was so much going on. I'm like, I don't want to take the Yukon out in this. Listen, I'm fat. I don't like to walk a lot, obviously. The nearest gas station was almost 2 miles away, no matter what direction.
Yeah.
I walked all the way down, got my stuff, walked all the way back, saying hi to people.
The whole time just hanging out and wandering, right?
Yes. And people are like complimenting me on my hair and
right.
All of it, like it fits in way more in the mini truck than it does most other worlds. But you'll see once you look through the photos, the quality of vehicles there, 99% of them were so top notch.
That's awesome.
That like, I was just amazed. And I had this event planned to go to before the Midwest schedule came out. Then the Midwest schedule came out. Obviously, I've got to take that as my priority, so I can keep a roof over my head. Because there's not a whole lot of branding partners that want to come on for mini trucks, which I don't quite understand. Because when was the last time you went to a drag race that wasn't a bracket race that had 750 cars and another 250 or 300 of them parked all over the parking lots all over the place? I mean, the exposure, and yes, I don't have a huge reach in the mini truck industry, but
so what?
I've had a lot of conversations about that, and that's fixing to change too. So yes, you will. I'm
looking through some of them right now.
Chad, no BS. I had people come up to me at this show and say, "We follow you on social media."
Oh, no way.
I'm at a mini truck show. The crossover between what we do.
Oh, that's so true.
And the car culture itself, mini trucks, lowriders, whatever it may be, there is a very distinct crossover. And I told the guys from GTV that too. I said, you don't understand. And I even name dropped you too. And I said, me and my buddy Chad, who also runs a media company within drag racing, are both mini truck gurus and love mini trucks and love what you guys do and how you present it to everybody. Well, I know Chad's not going to Rockingham. I'm going to Steel. It is one of those shows that the grass, this sounds ridiculous, but you understand this as somebody who stands and walks as much as we do. The grass there is
alone.
You need a cold shower? Oh
Yes.
God, those aren't even some of the best ones.
I know. I'm
Yep,
just looking.
dancing beds. That thing just got finished, and he was
I
letting
have a square body Suburban.
He was letting people sit in it while he just sat there and bounced on the chip.
That's
and
so
spooled
awesome.
it up. He was parked right across from the Grinder TV booth.
Yeah.
And
they were losing their minds.
Oh, everybody was like, this is awesome. And for me, I guess I'm just so used to that type of stuff.
I was gonna say.
But yeah, it's just
old school is Isuzu.
Dodge. Oh, that was parked. That was actually parked out in the parking lot right by my Yukon.
Dude, look at that. Is so iconic right there. Hard body with chrome Pathfinder mirrors, 4x4 front fenders, Toyota 4x4 bumper and valance in House of Colors Tangelo. That is so 1990s.
That is the epitome of mini trucking right there.
It is. It's perfect in every way. And clear corners, the whole deal. Oh, come on, dude.
And I will tell you the thing and I knew you'd like that one.
Yeah.
The thing as a photographer, that is my buddy Justin's truck. Go back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That one, that's the one I got to cruise in on Friday night. Dude, and he was scraping the pinch welds on that thing as we were driving up and down the strip.
I love it.
Super comfortable. But yeah, Justin, great guy. Huge shout out to him for everything.
I will next year I'm bringing my Mitsubishi body dropped. You know, we'll grind the rockers on that thing too. So yeah.
That I thought was absolutely adorable. That's
awesome. It's perfect.
Like the ingenuity and I love the fact that there's an old school Toyota just absolutely body dropped right onto the ground right behind it.
Well, the other thing that's cool about that is that those wheels are like junior dragster front wheels is what they, which makes it also a little funny. Dude, I love it.
That Fat Fab's Lightning is probably one of my favorite trucks on the planet.
That thing is awesome. Oh, okay. You're going to have to come visit Bang Shift tomorrow to see all of the gallery of photos because Damon shot a bunch of them and sent them over. So we're going to run a gallery tomorrow. Love it. But yes, I am. So, okay. So the Vega and the S10 are yours?
Huh?
The Vega and the S10. Did you see those? Oh, I thought you commented on a Vega and an S10 on Facebook.
No.
Oh, okay. 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 Oh, no, it's my other buddy, Damon. And I have another Damon, and I was thinking it was you. So I have my original mini truck was an 85 Mitsubishi Mighty Max. I hunted for one for years and years and years and couldn't find any that weren't $1 jillion. But I found an 86 Dodge Ram 50. And the only differences between the Ram 50 and the Mitsubishi, the Mighty Max, is the Ram 50 has 4 headlights instead of 2. And the tailgate is smooth instead of having Mitsubishi stamped in it. So I bought the Ram 50 for next to nothing because it's broke. And I bought it. And I found a Mighty Max in the wrecking yard, and I bought the tailgate off the Mighty Max and some other spare parts. So it's going to have a D50 headlights, but otherwise it's going to be a Mighty Max. I'm going to use the Mitsubishi tailgate because I know that like you go, oh no, it's mini trucking. You want to smooth everything out. I still want it to be the Mitsubishi tailgate. So that's mine. Now I'm going to mine had a big step notch in it and all the things back in the day, but it was like my first chassis fabrication work of any kind. Now I'm going to cut the chassis off at the firewall and do a whole new back half. And so that it lays, there's no reason to mess with the factory frame and all that junk at all. Like now, I build race car chassis and stuff now. Yeah. I'm not messing around. It'll take me longer to clean up the factory chassis to have it ready to notch and all that than it will to cut the other out and start doing frame rails in the back. Like, so there's just no way. And so, yeah, this thing's going to be laid on its balls, and that's will be my nature.
I will tell you by Saturday of that event, all I could think about is what I can do with the Yukon.
Yes.
And I've pretty much, so you talked about this earlier about how we've had to set our own stuff aside to do what we do. Whether it be like, I haven't made a pass on the drag strip since October of 2010. My stuff has been on jack stands since 2009. I'm really starting to come to the point where I don't know if I'm ever going to do anything with it. But if it's the Yukon or a mini truck that I can drive on a regular basis, I'm just starting to get to that point where, like, I want a loud stereo and I want something that looks cool that I can cruise around in. And I'm like, the Yukon is a great base, even though it's an all-wheel drive. I can put 22s on it. I'm already, and I don't think I've told you this, I'm taking the stereo, and this will be later on this year. The stereo is coming out of the Yukon and going in the Subaru because I am building an entirely new setup for the Yukon.
I approve.
And, but I mean, you walk through there, and any car guy, I don't care if you're a muscle car guy, I don't care what you are, the amount of work that goes into even the late model full-size trucks.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of work and the paint that goes into these is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I can't afford to paint things, so I'm going to teach myself to paint this year because I have cars that need to be painted, and I can't afford to have somebody paint. And I have lots of friends who are car painters, and so they will give me advice. But I can't afford to have a car painted.
And that's what I was talking to Justin about. My biggest thing is that I want to get the Yukon painted and, do a new hood and get some new mirrors and stuff. I've talked to some of my friends who own paint shops. Bare minimum is 10 grand. Bare minimum.
Yep.
And I'm like, you add that on top of suspension, stereo, interior.
Yeah. And it's ridiculous.
And what I did find out is a lot of these guys, especially the older mini trucks, the OG mini trucks, they're putting late model interiors in them.
Yeah.
Because it is now cheaper to buy late model interiors than to take your stuff and try to find a good upholster.
Oh, yeah.
Because in our industry, we're having the same kind of shortage that they are in like electricians, HVAC, and everything like that.
Yeah.
The skilled trades within the automotive industry, like wiring, like upholstery, things like that, it's a dying, or airbrushing.
Yeah.
Airbrush.
Oh, yeah.
Pinstriping.
Oh, yeah.
And because you're from California, a lot of that stuff started in California, especially with the lowrider movement.
Oh, yeah.
With the pinstriping and everything like that.
I know several stripers. I have several friends that's their profession.
Yeah.
And they are a rarity.
Because the thing that I will reiterate to anybody who wants to listen, this type of show, and I love drag racing. I will always love drag racing. That's not going to go away.
No.
The thing that I like about a show like this is nobody is competing against each other. They all appreciate what's there. They bring their families out, their kids out. The kids are lining up on the sidewalk. There was this one kid, he was holding a paddle on Saturday night. One side had a green thumbs up and the other side had a red thumbs down. So if he saw a mini truck that he liked, he would give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And vice versa. There's a guy on TikTok, I think his name is Matt. And this happens a lot at this show too. You stand out there and essentially you hitchhike mini trucks.
That's
so
awesome.
What he would do is he would just I know he got in Justin's truck at one point because there was a video of him in Justin's truck at one point, sitting in the bed of the truck. You just hop in the back of somebody's truck or whatever, and they'll take you up and down the strip. And it is just such a great family time. And for anybody who's interested in custom vehicles and seeing the artwork that goes into it and the handcrafting of so much stuff, it is amazing. And let's face it, the scenery in Maggie Valley is pretty damn nice too,
Right.
even when it does rain.
Well,
So,
and it reminds me of, at a much smaller scale, but not in a bad way, of Cruising the Coast, right? So Cruising the Coast, if you're not familiar, goes all along the Gulf Coast. It's like, it's what, like 50 or 80 miles or some damn thing. It's like 6 cities down the coast. And in one of them, I can't remember which town it is, that they do, and it's all hot rods and custom trucks and whatever. But one of the towns, the sheriff, not the deputy sheriff, the actual sheriff, runs the burnout contest they have on their main drag. Like, you literally pull off of the highway that goes on the Gulf into this, I mean, like right off into a thing in between barriers and stuff. And he's the dude spraying the water and telling you to go and do big burnouts and then drive back and right back on the road. Like, that's awesome stuff.
if we as purveyors of the car culture, if we paid more attention to the way that people acted at shows like Mini Truck Nats, we would have so much less pushback from politicians, from so many other, whether it's, first responders.
Yes.
And if we learned to have a mutual respect for each other, it would help grow the entire industry exponentially. Because I can tell you, those people in Maggie Valley, while they may hate the traffic for 3 days, every single business owner there is up in arms happy about that. You're not going to find an empty gas pump. You're not going to find an empty hotel room. You're going to be.
People made a fortune in 3 days, 4 days,
Yep.
And every single person that I have heard ever talk about that event talks about how awesome of a place it is, how awesome the show is, all the same things you're saying. And that is saying, and you and I have had this conversation too, when we live in a time now where everybody feels like, oh, they're trying to take our hot rods away from us and our race cars and whatever. And the reality of it is that that's not happening the way people think it is, right?
No.
I'm a little bit different because I don't own new cars, so I don't care if they passed a thing that said you had to buy electric. That doesn't matter to me. I'm not buying new cars anyway, right? But because it isn't that you then have to turn in your old cars. Like, that's not a thing, dude. Like, get over it, people. But I've been very vocal about the diesel crowd, and I have a lot of friends that are diesel guys, and I like a diesel truck. Don't get me wrong.
They are their own worst enemies.
100%. Okay. Blowing coal, rolling coal, whatever you want to call it. That is not good for anybody. And especially when they do it where they're rolling coal in intersections and blasting the guy in the minivan next to him with his kids in the car. Like, none of that helps anybody.
No.
That's not good shit. And so we need to vote those guys off the island, right? Because you're not helping us any. We need to have examples like Mini Truck and Nats. Those are, like you said, those are the things that we need to highlight. The good drag racing events, responsible events like LS Fest events, all of those things, right? Those things are what we need to be promoting, not the other stuff. We need to get rid of the other stuff that's bad. And I'll use LS Fest as the example too. Bowling Green, Kentucky is a super car town, right? It's a big car town because Holly is based there, okay? And has been there.
Are made there.
Yeah, has been a jillion years. Their minor league baseball team there are called the Hot Rods. That's the name of their minor league baseball team, okay? So they support Beach Bend Raceway Park and all of the car events there. Unbelievably loyal, right? It's great. And the cops there are really cool 95% of the time. Okay. Now, a couple of years ago at LS Fest, some people went out and, dude, there's a Holiday Inn where they used to do burnouts in the driveway of the Holiday Inn for years. I mean, years and years and years and years at every event. And you could do your burnout there as long as you didn't take it out onto the street. Okay. You do your burnout, you roll out onto the street and cruise down the road at normal. The cops were sitting there. Okay. Well, then people started to come out and try and do donuts in the intersection in front of it. And it's all on Hotel Row. There's like 5 or 6 hotels there. So this giant crowd starts, there's donuts going on, all this. So the cops roll in. And as the cops roll in their cars, the crowd decides they can't do anything if they can't get to it. And they literally bum rush the street and stand in front of the cops. And then somebody threw a drink. And when somebody threw a drink in the air across and hit a police car, that was the end. And they came through, and I mean, just everybody on, arresting people and kicking everybody out. Now, LS Fest happens, and 3 days before LS Fest, they block that road. It is barricaded at each end. You can no longer drive in, that area. And it's that way for during LS Fest. They take the barricades down for 2 days. Then they're back up for Mo Party. Then they take them down for a week, and they're back up for Ford Fest, a week and a half later. And all because a couple of people decided that they were going to do that. And then a couple other people decided, oh, the cops don't have any way to enforce this if we don't, let them. And that's not cool. Like, it's just not. And I'm, again, I got no issue with street racing. Like, I know it's not legal. I know all those things. If you do it in relatively smart places, so you're not hurting innocent bystanders, like all those things. But dude, you need to do what's good for the industry. And like you said, events like this, do it. LST this year was insane. As always, Lone Star Throwdown, for those that don't know, it's a great show. There was a sideshow or a takeover that happened after the show this year. And the unfortunate thing is that the people that put it on started spreading the word in some Facebook groups or whatever, and actually put the LST logo on some stuff, and then had it, and it had nothing to do with the show. And the police came, it was a whole thing, right? And it was ugly. And the people that put on the show had to go make very public deal, like, hey, whoa, not us. And they had to go after the people in order to show that they weren't supporting this, right? Because it was giving them a bad name, and that's not cool. So let's be smart, people.
2 things before we wrap up about mini truck Nats. And actually 3 things, because I'll answer somebody's question quick too. I didn't see a single squatted truck there. And squatted trucks aren't my thing.
I don't want to sound like an old man. If you like a squatted truck, knock yourself out. Whatever. It's just not my jam.
What's really not my thing, though, is the attitude of the squatted truck community, because I have seen it firsthand at other shows where they intentionally cause disturbance.
Right.
Secondly, when everybody is cruising in Maggie Valley, like, let's take Saturday night, for example. I left at about 8:30 on Saturday night, 8:30 on Saturday night.
Yeah.
I pull out.
To head home.
Yes. I pull out of the parking lot. Everybody in both directions stops to let me pull out.
Right.
They have lights periodically, like crosswalks. You push the button, the lights start flashing, everybody stops to let pedestrians go across the street. So there's awesome. No issues. I get in the left lane as I'm heading out of town. Every single mini truck is in the right lane going 10, 12 miles an hour.
Right.
So they are out of the way of traffic. They are out of the way of emergency vehicles, because there was a few times where ambulances had to go flying past, or a police car or something, or fire trucks. They're out of the way. They're not they're not being a menace.
Right.
They're going slow. Right, and they're going slow enough that like Justin stopped in front of the fairgrounds to pick me up that night. Just stops in the middle of the road. I open the door, I get in, we leave. Everybody stops behind you. It's just is what it is.
Right.
And nobody was getting impatient, nothing. Like, it was just it was such a laid back, relaxed time, and that's what made it so enjoyable, and that everybody was getting along. Now, to
I love it.
answer Lycans,
Yeah, Lycan.
did any stereo? There was one.
Lycan is a car audio. He works at a car audio shop.
Okay.
I'm telling you this because this will be why you need to describe them. He's blind.
Okay.
So he's an audio guy and he's been an audio engineer. He's a badass. He's a regular on all of our broadcasts and stuff. Love Lycan to death. He's great people and he's from Northern California where I grew up. But so tell him stereo stuff.
So there was one that truly stood out to me. And it was I don't even know what, I don't think it was an S10, an OBS S10, but there was a dual rear axle extended,
tandem. Yep.
Yeah, a tandem. And the guy had like 4 in given. I didn't go up and look at it close. I could hear it clear as day.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, this is an open shell. He does not have a shell on the bed, nothing like this.
Yeah.
It's all finished. I think it was 4 Fosgate 15s, and then where the back seat used to be, because again, there's no top on this thing. There's no tonneau cover, nothing. And then where the back seats were, he molded some like coaxials, and it's kind of like a surround sound. But when he would play, and he wasn't even in the show. He came from Arizona and was just parked outside the show.
Holy crap.
Oh yeah. But when he would play that stereo, it was clear, and he was probably 50 to 100 feet from me.
Yeah.
When I was sitting in the Yukon, and my rearview mirror was still rattling.
That's
from
awesome.
Him playing this.
Yeah.
And I mean, the box is probably integrated into the bed and everything.
Yeah.
But it was so clean and it sounded so fabulous. It wasn't an SPL vehicle. It was what we call SQL, which is sound quality loud.
Yep.
And this thing, it thumped, and you could hear it clear as day, not all muddled or any. I was super impressed because I don't get him. I mean, yes, hitting 165 dB in anything is impressive. Right. But when you can have
but your Tahoe is a 150 decibel vehicle.
No, I only got 141.88.
Okay, 140. Still insanely loud. Yes.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, right now it's 215s, and just so you know, that's getting taken out. We're still going to do a sealed box. It's not going to be a wall. We're still going to do a sealed box. We're going to do 6 of those 15s.
Oh, Jesus.
Each on an individual amp. And then we're going to do some morale 3-ways up front. We want to get 150 in a sealed box, and it sound like a concert hall inside the Yukon. That's the objective. So I pretty much already know what components and everything I'm going to run. I've made some friends with other people in the industry, because I've been in and out of car audio since the early 90s. But that was one, and there were I completely agree with him. The morales are amazing, nice silk dome tweeters. The focals are entirely too bright for my liking. The other option was Dyne Audio. Dyne Audio is really hard to come by, and I don't know about their lower end Dyne Audio. So I'm going to stick with morales. They're 3-ways.
You and I have talked about that before. I'm a big fan of the of silk dome tweeters. I'm not as
I'm not a fan of
titanium and aluminum and all that. They're too bright for my taste.
They are, and they almost sound metallic-y. And people who don't know car audio or audio in general don't understand what I say by metallic-y. But you can tell a huge difference between a warm sound of a silk dome tweeter and a very tinny, if you will, sound of a Focal or something, or some of
Yeah.
these super tweeters that are just, and don't get me wrong, Focal makes some great stuff,
Oh, yeah.
but a lot of these guys just want to be as loud as possible. I want to be able to play anything and everything in mine and it be loud, and it, you can't really hear, you can feel mine outside the vehicle. You really can't hear it very well. I know
Right.
you can feel it especially depending on what I'm playing. But yeah, we're going to go from 215s to 615s, because it was either going to be 615s or 812s. And I'm like, nah, let's just do 615s.
So are you losing the back seat?
No.
Oh, okay.
The 615s will go from wheel well to wheel well, and the box will be about 32 inches in depth and about 19 inches in height.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It's really, all I'm doing is adding pretty much a second row of speakers from back seat to the tailgate,
Right.
and two more speakers going, side, if you go side to side. And then I'll have an amp rack and a couple of excess power. They're Titan 8 14 volt, because I'll charge it like 16 or 17 volt, because I'm adding.
Yeah, why not?
Well, I'm adding two more MechMan 400 amp alternators. So I'll have 3 400 amp alternators on the Yukon.
Gotcha.
So, and at 1800 RPM, I'll be able to make 1200 amps of power. So I'm going to get a couple of the lithiums from Access Power, who is in Knoxville. So I can just drive up there and get them.
Oh,
And MechMan is essentially right next door to Access Power. So I can just drive up there and have Tony, take care of me while I just go up there and pick them up.
Right.
And Stereo Integrity, I'm going to do my subs through Stereo Integrity. They're just across the border in North Carolina. That's who I actually am running their 15s right now. Their sound quality 15s, they're only rated for 1,000 watts a piece, but if I can hit 142 in a sealed box with like little to no tuning, and that was measured in the kick panel on the passenger side, that wasn't a windshield measurement. That was a kick panel, like
like a legit. Yeah.
And 141.88 at 43 hertz.
Yeah.
Where most of these guys were measuring at 52 or 53 hertz, which is inherently louder. So I've heard that the owner of SI can be a handful to deal with. Honestly, if I decide not to go with the SI 15s, I will. I'm friends. I don't know if you knew this, but the same guy that owns Access Power, the battery company, also owns Sundown Audio.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
He just bought Sundown last year.
Wow.
So last year, a year and a half ago now, where did Chad go? Did Chad kick himself off of his own show? Because that would be pretty funny. So yeah, I mean, that is the plan. Hey, there's Chad.
I hit the wrong button.
Chad came back. But yeah. So the owner of Access also owns Sundown, also owns Showtime Electronics in Knoxville, which is a car audio store.
Oh, okay.
He is very successful, owns a lot of different businesses, Scotty.
Yeah.
And I've become really good friends with some of the people at Access, Remy, and some of the other ones at Access. I will only their products.
Yeah, I've worked with them for years. And one of the guys that just recently left, but Brent
Brady. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Brady and I still talk all the time, because I asked him, he's doing the restoration type stuff now or whatever.
Exactly. Yep.
And
he's awesome.
I asked him how it was going, and he's like, yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, he's happy over there. I saw him not too long ago. He's a good dude, and he sponsored us for for years, and Daphne was sponsored by XS, and I've never had anything but good things to say about their batteries. I love them.
And if you ever, and here's a little advice before we go, if you're ever looking for wiring for car audio,
Yeah.
I seriously recommend a place called GP Car Audio in Missouri. A lot of the car audio wiring that you'll buy from, and I'm not going to mention any specific companies, but a lot of it, if you look at their spools, it's all made in China.
Yeah.
GP, all of their like 1/0 and 2/0 power and ground wires, and all of that stuff is all made in the US.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's actual AWG rated sizing, everything. Or is that AWG?
Yeah.
I have almost 100 feet of 1/0 power wire from them in the Yukon right now, and my ground wire is all from them. They also have a bunch of CNC, like 2 down to 1. Like if I wanted to take the amplifiers that I'm running now, I have 2 1/0 inputs that go to a stand that goes into the amp, so I can run 2 power and 2 ground to the exact same input on the amplifier. They make they make CNC machine parts. They've got a ton of great stuff. And I have no business relationship with them. I'm just a customer. I got my stuff within a couple of days from them, because obviously Missouri is not all that far away.
Right.
But
they have a bunch of cool looking stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and they are now dealers for like Sundown and some other of the other manufacturers. So I've had great luck with their stuff. When I rewire the entire Yukon for the new setup, it'll all be GP wiring, because it's made in America. It's true to size. And the shipping is quick. Have not had a single issue with anything. So kudos to them.
And they have the hydraulic crimpers setups and all that stuff too.
They've got tools and pretty much everything that you would need.
Yeah, it's cool.
So
they have really good stuff.
To answer Scott Malpass' question quick before we check out, because we're at almost 2 hours. Right now I am running I hate to say this because I do not want to support them in any way, shape, or form, because I had a falling out with their products, but I do run a Down for Sound AB amp for my front and rear doors for now. That will be going away. That also will not go in the Subaru. Legitimately, the amp works, but I will no longer put it in anything that I own. And I do have an old amp that decided to check out after 8-9 months, that was running on my subs, and that will be used as target practice in a YouTube video. And then the amp that I replaced that with for my subs is a Crescendo Symphony S1 Plus. It's only rated at 2,500. It probably does closer to 3,000. They actually got me that amp because they're in I want to say Jacksonville, Florida, or they're over on the other coast by Tampa. I called them while I was at Donald's race at No Mercy last year, because my sub amp shit out on me on the way to that race.
Right.
I called them and I said, "What can you do, for me? This is, what's happening." I talked to a salesman. I said, "I need it shipped to the track. This is what I need." And I was looking at a refurbed one or a B stock, and they were out. He's like, "Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to create a coupon code for you. I'm going to send it over to you. It's going to give you $50 off the amp. And this was Tuesday, I think it was. He says, "I'm going to ship it out and it'll be there on Thursday."
Wow.
So
that's pretty awesome.
I had to go to the post office Thursday morning because they send it USPS, and USPS won't deliver to the track.
Oh, right.
So It ended up costing me like $450. They
Nice.
shipped it directly to the post office. I picked it up at the post office. I had already taken the other amp out, taken the plexi bottom off of it to try to figure out. We saw what the hell I mean, the fan in the Down for Sound amp was about as big as a $50. It definitely was not going to do what it needed to do. The Crescendo one is a much larger fan. I think it's got a much cleaner sound to it as well.
Yeah.
But they got it to me. They got it to me at a good price. I put it in. I put it in the Yukon, bolted it down with some spacer feet just to make sure I had air underneath it. And
Yeah.
I have been beating the piss out of that amp since October. And that is the
No
one
issue.
that is the one that it went into protect once.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was because I was in Florida and it
Right.
was hot as shit.
Right.
And I was jamming to DJ Magic Mike for like an hour and a half straight. And this thing finally said, "Nah, we done."
Yeah.
Turned off the
Sorry.
deck, turned it right back on, kicked right back on, and went about playing it for another hour and a half.
That's awesome.
But the Sundown stuff is probably what I'll go with for amps. One, because they're local to me. And I know the people who work there. I'm always about, doing the local thing, if you will.
Right.
And I'm less worried about you're just going to become another fanboy of somebody. Well, not really, because I like local companies. Like when MechMan Alternators was expanding last year or whatever, and they had the what is that when you expand your business and like the city council or whatever, the ribbon cutting stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like a groundbreaking or
Yeah.
whatever. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Tony Bolton over at MechMan got a hold of me because I've been friends with him for a while, and I run one of their alternators on the Yukon. And they've got some great alternators, by the way. MechMan, I
Yeah.
absolutely swear by their billet. Their Elite series is beautiful. I have a pink one on the Yukon, and it'll be getting 2 more pink ones, obviously.
Right.
But he messaged me and he's like, "Hey, we really need some photos of this ceremony and open house and everything. Could you come up?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I didn't charge them for it. Nothing. I just have a working relationship with them." So I went up there and photographed the entire thing and, sent him a bunch of photos and everything. And I like having a relationship with companies that I could literally drive an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. And, like Showtime Electronics, Sundown, Excess, MechMan are all pretty much in Knoxville.
Yeah.
So
Why not support local?
yeah, I mean, if I can go an hour, and I still support my local audio shop here. I buy all my Dynamat and RCAs and everything from my local shop
Yeah.
here.
Why not?
And my local shop also advertises with the racetrack here. So
that's
it's,
perfect.
I'm going to support them. They're supporting my local track. They're supporting my sick hobbies.
Yes.
I'm going to keep doing it because it's a local business, and they were super good to me even when I wasn't buying. That is a big thing. And Chad, you'll understand this. Treat a customer or any person who comes into your business like a potential customer. Because if you do, they will become a customer.
Especially with car audio, it's a look and touch and feel and all that. The chances that you're going to walk in and just go, "Ooh, yay, I need that," and buy it are only 50-50. It's not like you're walking into a tire store and you're going to buy tires, right? It's not the same.
Car audio is more of an impulse,
impulse,
but a planned impulse purchase. And you need to know what you're buying. And typically you can learn from people. And I walked in there before I ever bought anything. And I talked to the guy for about 2 hours there. They weren't busy that day. If they were, I wouldn't have bothered him that much.
Time. Yeah, exactly.
But, and I told them, they carry a different brand of alternator. And I said, you should look into the MechMan, especially because MechMan is local to us.
Yeah.
And they're an Access Power dealer and they're a Dynamat dealer, JL Audio, Kenwood. I bought my head unit that's in the Yukon from them. I've bought speaker wire, RCAs, distribution blocks. I bought a bunch of stuff from them.
Yeah.
And I will continue to do so because they're local. And the other stuff, if I can go an hour and a half to Knoxville and spend an afternoon talking to Remy or talking to Tony over at MechMan, and building these relationships and supporting a local business who supports not only the community. Access Power also holds their once a year show. It used to be an open house at Access Power. They outgrew that. So now that they have a show at the drag strip that my buddy Wes Clapp owns in Knoxville.
That's awesome.
So the correlation and the community coming together in car audio and drag racing and everything else, again, I'm going to continue to support those companies, not just big warehouse companies who want to sell you something and they don't actually give a shit about you after the fact.
Right. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So when are you going to let me spout off some more? Oh, speak of that, I need to have you on one of my podcasts too.
Yeah, you let me know when. I'm in.
Because
but yeah, you need to come on again. I mean, I don't know, maybe next month. Come on again.
Why I don't care. We could do this every damn week. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like whatever. I'm trying to right now, and you get this because we're in the same business. Obviously, you saw that Andrew left Dragzine.
Yep.
And I had messaged him. He didn't know that there was going to be a post about it.
Right.
But I had messaged him, and he told me that he was taking a marketing job. Now I see it's with QA1.
Yep, which is great company. One of our sponsors. They do really good stuff.
I'm like, kudos to you. Obviously, I personally have a conflict, but you know, I'm still happy. I'm still happy for him.
Oh yeah.
And I told Brian straight out. I said, I was on a live feed. Doug DeLay wants to know if you still need him to go on your show.
Yeah. Yes, I know. I agree.
I told Wagner when I was doing a Facebook Live after this announcement, I said, some of us were starting to wonder if Dragzine even did drag racing coverage anymore.
Oh, no.
Awesome. It's just, if you, and Chad and I have had this conversation, if you look at it, everybody has got their niche except for Chad and I. Chad and I do whatever the hell we want.
Anything that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do what we want. And the nice thing is that we don't have to worry about getting our wrist slapped for saying something that comes out of our mouth, because the only person who's going to slap my wrist is Ellen.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's not going to care.
No, exactly.
We need to have the three of us need to do a podcast together.
Absolutely.
And
I've had Ellen on before. She would be great again. Yes.
And we need to make sure that we plan plenty of time, because the three of us,
oh my God,
you could literally go on
3 hour show instead of a 2 hour. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, we have been on just over 2 hours. We better cut it off for tonight. But dude,
Sounds
seriously
good.
Appreciate you being on here.
Always my pleasure.
Scott, Doug, Lycan, Jeff, all the guys, Neil, everybody that tuned in tonight, really appreciate it for sure. Justin, all you guys, really appreciate it. Barn, I know you're on there too. And we will be back in 2 weeks for another edition of Triple B. I don't know what we're going to talk about this time. If you have suggestions, send us a comment or send me a DM or email me chat@bangshift.com. Yeah,
you've always got suggestions.
Yeah, I know you do.
There's a lot of shit that we could talk about, but I'll save it for another day.
All right. Exactly.
Why are you not having a show next week?
I do this one every other week. So yeah. So next week we'll do different show. Yeah.
What's next week's show?
Power Shift. That'll be on Thursday next week. So yeah. Yep. And that one's more hot rods and everything else, like not just racing related, which is a bunch of mini truckers too, though. So it would have been appropriate to have Maggie Valley discussion on there too. So, so you can come on that one if you want.
Hey, I'm always up for pushing more mini truck stuff and lowriders and anything that's going to get. Here's the thing, Chad, you and I both understand that it's sometimes hard to relate as a fan to drag racing.
Yeah.
I think the reason that Street Outlaws and NPK have done so well is because it reminds us of the 80s and 90s in NASCAR, where you could pick a car and ride with it.
Yes, right.
We don't have a lot of that in drag racing. People can't necessarily relate to a $500,000 pro mod. I mean,
Right.
it's like it used to be. Even a quality ultra car is going to be $150,000-$200,000.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when you see a mini truck that's 35 years old,
Yeah.
and you can go cruising around, and you could take your better half with you. You could take your kids with you if you've got an extended cab or you do a 4-door. It really opens up a lot of people's eyes to this could be a family thing. What I've heard a lot from the mini truck community is I met my girlfriend or wife, whatever it was. She wasn't really into this lifestyle, this car culture thing. But when she started coming to the mini truck shows, all of a sudden she wanted her own mini truck or
Right.
her own bagged car or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Right.
She wasn't into it to start, but that's how we continue to grow this with kids and the general population, is because it's a respectful group and it's something that everybody can enjoy. You don't have to have a ton of skill to be able to drive a mini truck like you do a pro mod or whatever.
No.
So
No.
people,
You need to watch
this
for
is
speed
something.
bumps.
Yeah, I mean, like I talked to Justin. Justin drives his truck, that Dodge that I was telling you about, that full-size Dodge. He drives that thing to work.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bagged
Exactly.
full-size Dodge that, can
Yeah.
scrape the pinch welds right off. It
Right.
is fun. The kids love it. His daughter was riding around in the back of the truck while we
Yeah.
were cruising. His son was back there. His son's friend was back there. It's just a good time to be had by all. So,
That's awesome. I
on
love
that
that.
note, have a good night. We will talk soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, dude, for sure. And everybody else that tuned in tonight, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks for another edition of Triple B. Big thanks to Lamb Components for being our sponsor. And join us next Thursday for another edition of Power Shift right here. We'll have some fun for sure. So thanks again, everybody. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next time.